the minutes of the last meeting. I have reviewed those minutes, and if you would look over them if you have any problem.
I make a motion to accept.
Motion to accept, second.
Second.
Motion to accept and second. Any additions or corrections to those minutes or discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor to accept this page signify by raised hand. Unanimous. There's a request by the Stallions. The board of directors would like to hold their monthly meetings here. Back quite a while back, they did meet here on a regular basis. They kind of got away from it. We had, I'll be honest with you, we did have some misunderstandings, or didn't exactly see eye to eye on some things. They had some major changes in their administration. They are making even more. They're putting everything together. So at this time, we would like to discuss whether or not we would like for them to allow them to meet here on the third Monday night of each month on a regular basis. I told them that the mayor's office would be willing to work with them any way we could on a consulting basis, and anything else we could do for them as far as the spirit days and all, we would like to be a part of it. But at this time, we can only have two opinions. That's Celine and mine. We have a conflict of interest with one of our council members, in that his wife is now secretary of that organization, and felt to vote on it, their meeting here would be a conflict of interest. So I have nothing else to discuss other than what I've already said. Do you have anything?
The third Monday, is that going to interfere with?
No, that's why we chose that time, is it won't interfere with anything that we have so far.
That's on the calendar.
They also understand that if there were something come up that we could rent this building, that we would call them and they would make changes. They're not going to keep us from getting some revenues. I see this as a part of our community service. This is a community building, and I feel like that we ought to let it out for events such as this, to be used for community service.
Are you saying they are or not going to pay rent?
They're asking that they not pay
That we
rent.
volunteer?
We do this for the garden club, we do it for the quilting ladies, we do it for
I don't see where it would be an issue unless we just had more football teams wanting, or athletic, to come and expect us to do the same.
I would say that we would take on those issues as they come up. The likelihood of that happening is very, very remote, but it can always happen. In that case, we would take it on a one-on-one basis.
So it's just a meeting, a monthly meeting, that's it?
Right. Now, if they were to have a general meeting where all the parents were invited, or if they were to have a sign-up day or something like that, they would come to us and ask us for those specific times, in which case I would say that if we didn't have anything scheduled for the building when they're going to do that, I would be all for it. Because they are the Sharpsburg Stallions, and they will be representing us, and if nothing else for the time being, in name only. Sometime in the future, if we could ever get our recreation fields that we hope to have, then we would be able to form, hopefully, an athletic association within the town, and they would become a more integral part of the Sharpsburg community. But right now, they have chosen and have been acting as the Sharpsburg Stallions for several years.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. We have a quorum of members present, but we only have, cannot have a quorum of voting. But of the three of us, I have a positive vote. Do I hear a positive vote?
Yes, I'll make a motion.
And one abstention. Okay. At this time, I'd like to introduce a guest. This is Mr. David Hunt. David is with Waste Management, the same company that is doing our garbage collection now. They have submitted a bid to continue with that service. And it's so much better than anything that we have had in the past or that we could hope for in the future, that it's looking mighty good. But we have had a request, open records request from another company to look at our existing contracts. And this is the only contract that we have, the existing contract, the one we've had for several years. We will, of course, comply to an open records request and furnish it to that company and to any other company that's out there that would like that information. Now, come next month, we will look at those bids, look at everything that they have to offer, and make the decision at that time on who we would choose. Since David is here, David, is there anything that you would like to say to council tonight?
Yeah, thank you both for allowing me to be here tonight. Thank you, Wendell. We have been extremely privileged to be a part of the city and hopefully continue to be a part of the city. We presented a package that we feel is extremely aggressive to grow as the city has grown, introducing a new way of recycling for the community instead of the 18-gallon totes that you see at some curbside services. Well, our recycling now is going to be into a 65-gallon container, which is very similar to your garbage container, just a little smaller and dense. And we'll take everything from plastics 1 through 7. The only thing we really don't accept is styrofoam, and we call them Walmart bags at our house, but those bags that you get your groceries in, those type things. Outside of that, if it can be recycled, we're going to take it. And it's a co-mingled recycling, meaning everything that you have can go in it, and our recycling center sorts it out for us. So there's no separation on your end. The other thing that we're going to introduce to you guys, which I'm glad we're doing, is yard waste. And especially during the fall seasons, where the yard waste, of course, your leaves and things like that, people want to rake and clean up their yards. Well, that's going to be introduced as well.
And to council, I'll say that they're increasing the service by doing the recycling, the yard waste, and the dumpster out here, and they're doing all that without any increase in charges over the rates that we've had for the last few years.
That's correct. We're going to keep everything the same.
All right.
Can I know it's not proper, but as long as they've been here, they've been excellent. Superb, on time and prompt, and the trash cans always back where they're supposed to be and out of the road and all that kind of good stuff. It's been excellent.
Good, thank you. I'm glad to hear that, because I understand that you were at a meeting where that was.
Yeah, I was at that meeting.
Neither David or I can understand that, because according to what we found out, we can call them, and a lot of times you're going to have people that don't get the trash up there on time, and they're going to call us here and say, hey, they missed me. Well, we call, they go back out and pick it up. I have in my house no complaints with the service over the years.
I have no.
Has anybody had a problem that wasn't immediately solved?
Mine's fixed quick.
Good. But anyway, we appreciate you being here, and we will take this other office as we are required to do, and then we'll make the decision on the ongoing contract. And remember what he just said, that they also take glass now. We used to have to separate our glass out and take it somewhere else.
And let me clarify that, it's green, brown, and clear glass, which is most of the glass.
Yeah. Okay. Public comments. I know we don't have a whole lot of public here, but we got two, and we're willing to hear.
Gosh, that was fast. I had three things. I already forgot them. The business about the signs for the town. Did you all look into that anymore? You know, I mentioned one day last week that it would be nice if we had some entrance signs of some sort. Maybe nothing hugely fancy, but just something a little bit bigger than we've got.
Right. We didn't do anything on it today, and we talked, remember last Friday when we talked about it, and to bring council up to what we was talking about, it has been our desire for a long time to have an entrance sign on the south side there at the triangle. And the big reluctance was in the fact that we didn't have control over the property behind, and the right-of-ways on either road brought us in so far. So now we don't have that concern. So we are, again, looking at the possibilities of having a real nice sign coming in on the south side. And we're also going to apply for the Gateway Grant, which will do all the landscaping around that sign for free. So yes, we are going to get back on that.
Let's see, the second one was, it's kind of obvious today, the amount I brought up at the last meeting about the fact that we all the time just barely have a quorum present and have business cannot be taken care of. But like tonight, when you couldn't even vote on the stallion thing, I still think something needs to be done to deal with it. And I don't expect a comment, but I just think it's kind of sad when you've got meeting after meeting after meeting that only 3 people are here.
Right.
And the third thing is, what about the ethics committee thing that y'all did and got the little award for? What about the committee that's supposed to be set up for that?
We've, since you brought it back to our attention, I've made 2 contacts, and we are, well, one of the ones that we talked to was willing to do it, just needed to know what was going to be the duties, how they would meet, and the power that they would have. They're being furnished with that information. And the way we picked those, I went back and did the work. The mayor can pick one, the council can pick one, and then one can be either chosen by those 2 choices or can be picked at large from the mayor and council. So yes, we've looked into it, and that will be taken care of, promise. Clerk had nothing else to come before meeting. I asked her before she left. Mayor's minutes. I'm going to tell you about a meeting that we had last week. Unfortunately, I will not be able to go into the details of that because anytime, as you know, that it involves a possibility of litigation, we can't divulge that in open meeting until all of it's had been handled legally. But we met with the water department, we met with the Turin mayor, the mayor's, their Turin's engineer, their attorney, the Sewer and Water Authority, Mr. Cadenhead, their attorney, Coweta County, Theron Gay, their attorney, Fire Chief Teeter, Sharpsburg mayor, IS&E Engineering had 2 of our engineers there, and the Sharpsburg attorney. We had a room full of people, and we had quite a vigorous discussion about the water, the need for water improvements, the need for water to supply our newly annexed property. We did come to a couple of conclusions that I can mention at this time. As far as the Highway 16 property, Sewer and Water Authority came up with a solution that will keep Turin from having to go to the expense of running the 8-inch water line from Turin water tank over to the development. They'll place a meter on the property, right at the property, on the 12-inch line on the street. That meter will be a Turin water meter, and it will. They will also receive the proceeds from the sale of water in that community. And the other part, which pertains to Old Town, we still have some legal issues there which we're discussing, and so I'll reserve comments on that till later. The developer was contacted, and I had a long discussion with him after we came out of the meeting. It's the developer's contingent that if it's going to be Turin water, Turin's going to be receiving revenues from it, then Turin should supply the $25,000 meter. So I asked the developer if Turin didn't have the money to supply it at this time, if he got a tenant that needed water right away, would they, the developer, be willing to pay for the meter and be repaid by tap-on fees that would be collected from the new tenants in the development? They agreed to that. So we got a lot of things being agreed to verbally right now that we're trying to wrap up under legal contract. I'll go into more detail with you when I'm at liberty to do so. Any questions about what I've said so far? Mayor has some more comments at this time. Anything else that needs to come before council? I take that back. I will say a little bit based on the comments you made, and I won't go into any detail, but I have contacted both the other two council members, talked to both of them, and both are very anxious to get back. Whether or not it's by the next meeting, we don't think so, but hopefully by April we'll have one back and could have the other one back possibly even as early as the next meeting. But your comments are well founded. Thank you. Anything else to come before council? Hearing none, meeting to adjourn. Motion will be in order.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to adjourn.